So what I witnessed today is just more of what I witnessed last time, which is specifically you, Judge O'Hare. You're not acting like a judge, you're acting like a tyrant.
That is literally some of the most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard uttered.
And I think it's absolutely retaliation that's coming from you, Tim O'Hare, trying to pass these policies behind closed doors,
Well, you would be
having no
mistaken.
collaboration with any of your other commissioners, having no public input prior to this being proposed. It is absurd.
That is literally some of the most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard uttered.
Imagine getting violently removed from a public meeting and or arrested in America for simply asking why the law is not being followed.
That is literally some of the most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard uttered.
I know that he has taken speakers out of order.
I most certainly have not.
You absolutely have.
I most certainly have not.
Okay,
That's just
all right.
ridiculous.
That's
Find one.
fine.
Point to the public anyone
you
I've ever done that with.
Do you remember the meeting after the meeting in which you told me to shut up? We had overflow.
I never told you to shut up.
We had
so that's another misstatement of facts, which that's all you spew when you talk.
Everybody that signed up in support of you got pushed to the front.
That's just
it
so
was madness
dishonest.
trying to
It's
keep
so
up.
sad.
So
ridiculous.
yes, we get the same stacks, so it's easy for me to keep up.
I've said this before, I'll say it again. I will fight like the Dickens for any statutory power given to me to never lose it, and I will not advocate to gain additional powers that the state law does not provide. But I take that role seriously.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Yesterday, I put together a quick video showing attorney C.J. Grisham getting kicked out of the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court just for saying a word that Tim O'Hare didn't like. Then Carolina was removed for saying a few words that he didn't approve of. Next thing you know, she got arrested on January 28, 2025. But this video, we're going to take it a step further. We're diving deep into County Judge Tim O'Hare and his full-blown tyrannical behavior. This man runs the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court like a dictator, completely out of control and unfit for office. I've compiled footage of him having people arrested and thrown out of the meeting just for clapping, unless, of course, he approves of the people to clap. And I have many clips of that. It's pure insanity. Basically, you can only clap when he allows it, and if he doesn't approve of it, you're getting thrown out. Then we got Commissioner Matt Krause, who claims to know the law and support the Constitution, backing up Tim O'Hare's authoritarian nonsense, actually saying it's not a First Amendment violation to remove people for speaking or clapping. Meanwhile, the only one in the courtroom with the guts to stand up for the people's rights is Commissioner Elisa Simmons. She's calling out Tim O'Hare's tyrannical power trip while the rest just go along with it. So let's take a good, hard look at Tim O'Hare's tyrannical behavior in the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court. Shall we?
Thank you.
If you do it again, you'll be removed.
He doesn't like. Something is wrong with that man.
Yes, did you climb over that?
Up here. Thank you. Are you good enough? We stand you up? No. Where are you, sir? You're in the restricted area.
He gave me permission.
Who
I thought he
did?
was going over flow. I thought he was going in overflow.
You want me to leave?
Yes, please.
Why am I being removed from this area, please?
Please.
I'm asking why I'm being removed.
Thank you.
I'm asking why you want me to be removed from this area. This is not a good look.
Corporal Don Graves.
Thank you.
If you do it again, you'll be removed.
If you're a veteran, could you stand up so we can give you a round of applause?
To the court.
Thank you. Get him out. He's removed.
He will be 100 years old on May the 3rd.
Get him out. He's removed. Congratulations and thank you for going through this. We appreciate you very much. Get him out. He's removed. And Mr. Wilson, would you stand? Let us recognize you. Welcome aboard. Remove him immediately for that comment. Get him out of here.
Excuse me, that's protected speech.
Yeah, it's not going to be protected in this courtroom.
If it's protected speech.
We were watching the Tarrant County Commissioners meeting on the desk yesterday morning in real time. At the beginning of the meeting, you could hear outbursts in the crowd as that regular meeting went on. Judge Tim O'Hare stopped it, warning participants to be quiet.
So your rules of decorum policy cannot trump the laws of the United States of America. So your rules of decorum are setting your county up for liability. We have the right to say, all these words because it's a First Amendment right and you can't do anything about it. In the Stillman case,
It's political in nature in any of your tweets.
Occasionally.
Okay.
All right, what about yours?
Your bio. I run my Twitter, but I'm the one talking now, so you'll sit there and be quiet and listen while I talk, and then you can talk later. You will
have to talk.
He wants to vote yes, it's a yes. If he wants to vote no, it's a no.
Look up.
Okay.
Look up.
Have a semblance of class. That's all you have to do. Just a semblance. Are you a yes or a no on this?
So despite Tim O'Hare's long track record of stomping on people's rights and acting like a dictator, they went ahead and proposed new rules of decorum that give him even more power to stomp on people's rights and act like a dictator. These new rules make it harder for citizens to sign up to speak. They cut public comments down to just 1 minute if Tim O'Hare sees fit, and it lets Tim O'Hare decide who's disorderly or out of order. In other words, if he doesn't like what you say or if he doesn't like when you clap, he can throw you out. This is a direct attack on free speech and the Constitution. Plain and simple. And the only ones standing up against it are Commissioners Elisa Simmons and Roderick Miles Jr. Let's tune in as they discuss these unconstitutional rules, and also want to highlight a few citizens who absolutely nailed it during public comment that I didn't highlight on the last video.
Prohibiting somebody from clapping is a violation. These people who come down here regularly have been so conditioned, if not trained, if not their minds enslaved to. Last meeting I saw people clapping like this because they were too afraid to express themselves for fear of getting kicked out of their commissioner's court room their building, talking to their elected officials. If clapping is an issue, we clap for nothing. Nothing. No proclamations, no Marine vets. My son is a Marine captain. We clap for nothing. One person of this court should not get to pick and choose what the forms of expression should be. And we do get the same stack. That is exactly how I know that he has taken speakers out of order.
I most certainly have not.
You absolutely have.
I most certainly have not.
Okay,
That's just
all right.
ridiculous.
That's
Find one.
fine.
Point to the public anyone I've ever done that with.
Do you remember the meeting after the meeting in which you told me to shut up? We had overflow.
I never told you to shut up.
We had
so that's another
overflow,
misstatement of facts, which that's all you spew when you talk.
Overflow rooms of people. And I was keeping up, and everybody that signed up in support of you got pushed to the front.
That's just
it
so
was
so
madness
dishonest.
trying to
It's
keep
so
up.
sad.
So
ridiculous.
yes, we get the same stack, so it's easy for me to keep up. It's easy for us to keep up. So thank you legal folks for coming up here to help answer the question about First Amendment violations. And thank you all for coming. Unfortunately, they're not going to listen. Several people have texted and asked, does this have a chance of being postponed? And I've been honest with you and texted you back to tell you no. These two gentlemen will follow right along with him. So.
Yeah, I'll say there were a lot of legal comments made today, but nothing that I heard alleged a specific violation of constitutional law. I know Ms. Cox talked about a designated public forum, but I know she's probably very aware that court after court has said, even in a designated public forum, there are reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions that an entity can put on to make sure that things go in a uniform manner and in a way that it needs to go. So again, I've not heard any allegation, any specific provision from the Constitution that has been violated by these, which is very important to me. You can laugh all you want, but until somebody points that out, we have that. So I appreciate y'all being here and expressing your viewpoint. I really do. So thank you for that.
All right. Next up is consideration to adopt the Tarrant County decorum policy.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve this item. Any discussion?
Yes. So, we've all heard the saying, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There are two major checks and balances to government: transparency and the First Amendment right to free speech. This court decorum policy places way too much discretion on to one person, and that's Judge Tim O'Hare. And it discourages freedom of speech with the barrier of inconvenience. In this policy, the time limit is at the discretion of the judge. The speaker order is at the discretion of the judge. The judge can excuse a speaker, and I quote, for any other matter at the discretion of the judge. I am not okay with this, and neither should any member of this court be okay with this. This allows the suppression of voices under the guise of order. The public is not fooled by this. I've gotten lots of calls and emails. this court should not be fooled by this facade either. For the first thing, the time limit needs to be left alone. For 3 minutes, can we not sit here as elected officials and hear from the people who've taken off work, left their children, if they were home taking care of elderly parents, whatever? Can we not sit here and for 3 minutes listen to the people that elected us to these very nice paying jobs we have? We can sit here and listen to you guys. Next is the inconvenience of suppression. We're asking constituents to come the day before and register to speak, and then come back the next day to speak. Now, we do offer online registration, but there are some people who cannot register online or do not have access to a PC. So, for those who are employed and want to speak, we're asking them to take 2 days out of their lives to come up here and participate in a process that should be very accessible to them. And third, in this policy, constituents place their precinct information on these forms, and Judge O'Hare has the authority to decide who speaks in what order. That is not okay with me.
Anybody else have any comments?
I appreciate all the folks that have reached out to me. I appreciate all the folks that are here to speak to this and stand up to this. But finally, in this policy, the bailiffs can criminally trespass anyone from this building without any direction from a court member or staff. This does not allow any checks and balances, and that should be for anyone. So again, no commissioner on this court should be okay with this policy. It takes control from every member of this court. Subtly suppresses the voices of you guys through inconvenience and places power solely in the hands of one person. I did give input into this. I provided input to county staff. I don't see a bit of it in the damn policy. So you can tell who's in control, and you can tell who wields the power, and you can tell that county staff is terrified of him. And so this is what you get. But just know that before you all even contacted me, I was opposed to this. And so I stand with you, and I hope you stand with me in opposing this.
That is literally some of the most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard uttered. I am currently the presiding officer. There are statutory powers and authorities that come with that. I've been here 2 years. I receive a pile of papers every morning as they scatter to get it to us all and make 7 copies of it. I have never taken a single person out of order except for 2 times when 2 elected officials asked. One was Royce West, one was Beau French, and I allowed those to come up because they said they had a conflict. I don't intend to ever move the order. I'm sitting here running the meeting and looking through this while you all sit here. I've never pulled one out, stuck it under, but you have the same order that I have. The idea that this is run by me, all 5 people have feedback, and I realize it's difficult for you to understand you're not in the majority on the court. And so Our county administrator does not work for each one individually. Our county administrator works for the court as a whole, and they take feedback and they put together the best thing they can put together based on feedback. And the notion that county staff is terrified of me is the silliest thing I've ever heard of in my lifetime. I believe I run a fair meeting. It's strict when it comes to yelling out. I will continue to run a fair meeting. This is not designed to somehow give me the ability to pull some fast one. I'm a firm believer in free speech. Free speech is not the ability to disrupt a meeting anytime you want to disrupt a meeting. It is not the ability to scream out. And the United States Senate, the United States House, the City of Fort Worth, the County of Dallas, the Texas House of Representatives, the Texas Senate, all have policies and procedures in place to keep people from yelling out. And then the notion that this policy creates the ability for law enforcement to go enforce laws is also ludicrous. We don't have the authority or power to give law enforcement powers or take law enforcement powers away. What they choose to do when it comes to enforcing laws is up to them, and that separation of powers that you're concerned about would actually be violated if we tried to tell them who you can prosecute, who you can't prosecute, who you can arrest, who you can't arrest. I have never told anyone from the sheriff's office to arrest someone or do anything other than remove them from this proceeding when they speak out. So I will continue to do that, which is my right to do, whether this policy is passed or not, as the presiding officer of the court.
Can I ask a question, Commissioner Simmons? I'm new to this, so if this is out of order, let me know. But I practice constitutional law, so I take that very seriously, especially on free speech issues. And you had said that it violates the First Amendment. Can you tell me where in the rules what the violation is of the First Amendment? Because if we are violating the First Amendment, I don't want to sign off on it, but I didn't see anything in those rules that did that. So if you can show me where it violates the First Amendment, that would be very helpful to me.
Like I said, there are subtleties, but to me they're not subtleties. When you prevent or you erect barriers for people to speak, that is a violation to me. So coming down the day before, signing up, having to spend time out of 2 of your days to come and speak, that's okay. A violation.
So you're saying there's things you definitely disagree with in the policy that to you raise serious red flags, but not necessarily a violation of constitutional law. Am I understanding that correctly?
There are things in this policy that raise red flags, and I think I detailed them.
Okay.
Almost everything in here is basically memorializing the authorities that he has as the elected presiding officer. I didn't see anything in there that was an overreach by the county judge. I mean, he could do any one of those things right now in this court at any given time to make an exception to any rule with a vote of 3 at any given time.
I've said this before, I'll say it again. I will fight like the Dickens for any statutory power given to me to never lose it, and I will not advocate to gain additional powers that the state law does not provide. But I take that role seriously.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Joe Palmer, Tarrant County. Don Graves said at the beginning of the meeting, I'm looking for a good America before I leave this country. I think we ought to give it to him. I think one of the qualities of good leadership, matching the scope of the response to that of the issue. These proposed rule changes are way out of scope. In fact, there was not a problem of any kind during the last meeting, except for the violent removal of 3 attendees. Incidentally, neither the professor nor Manuel Mata were coming up in the online system as having been arrested, and no bond amount was indicated through the next day. Were they actually arrested? Were they unarrested? When we remove people from meetings against their will, who have broken no laws, what does that mean about us? Since these are being proposed now, I have to think that they are arising from the last meeting. The first gentleman who was removed at the last meeting was correct. Section 551007 of Local Government Code enables any member of the public to address the body on any agenda item either before or during the body's consideration of that item. Somebody signed up to speak on proclamations. He was denied that right. Imagine getting violently removed from a public meeting and or arrested in America for simply asking why the law is not being followed. Where did these proposed rules changes come from? I think we know that by now. When did you first receive them? You had input. That answered my question. Your input was ignored, it sounds like. These proposals give too much autonomous power to the county judge. They're also intimidating and will serve to discourage people from coming to these meetings and speaking freely. Again, there was no problem at the last meeting. It appears that your response to loved ones becoming scared for their family and friends' safety in the jail is to extend that fear to affect their attendance at these meetings. Before this whole thing went down, I would have guessed a sensible approach would be to be extra accommodating, consoling of your grieving community, assuring them that you see the problem and are working to resolve it. It's ironic that coming to rightfully express outrage about the jail deaths could itself land you in jail. It doesn't look good, in my opinion, as a conservative activist, to shut down speech by implementing these unnecessarily strict rules. You aren't responding to what the people want by implementing these rules. They did not come from us. Nobody asked for this. The people want you spending time focusing on the jail, not on coming up with reasons to kick people out of meetings they paid for. Commissioner Krause, I'd like to address your question about the constitutionality. It does address Congress. It says Congress shall make no law. I believe that the constitutional argument here is the spirit of the Constitution. The spirit of what guys like Mr. Graves fought for, is that being followed? Is that being adhered to? You have the ability. And one last point, if these things are inevitable, if he has this power and you don't even need to vote on it, why are you voting on it?
Right.
You have the ability to make a decision here. No autonomous authority, not one more farthing of autonomous authority to the county judge. It gets dispersed among the county commissioners. If not, y'all can all just go home and ask him to fund your bridges and stuff.
Thank you.
It takes time and effort out of our days to show up here twice a month to try to talk some sense into all of you sitting on this dais. And I think it's absolutely retaliation that's coming from you, Tim O'Hare, trying to pass these policies behind closed doors,
Well, you would be
having no
mistaken.
collaboration with any of your other commissioners, having no public input prior to this being proposed. It is absurd. Every single time we come to this meeting, we are trying our best to comply with our decorum policies, to try to urge you and move you in some way, but you have zero compassion for community. You have zero regard for the people who have died in our jails, for the people that are constantly being harassed by our sheriff. It's absurd. And even though this policy may pass today, we're still going to show up. We're still going to talk your ears off. We're still going to keep you here because you're getting paid by our tax dollars to show up and to stay here and listen to what the heck we have to say. So regardless of how much time we have on the clock, we're going to show up and we're going to make our voices heard, and you're going to sit there and you're going to listen to us over the next 2 years. And hopefully by then, we'll have you out of here.
Yeah. This decorum guideline states that Judge O'Hare would be free to cut off people whenever he feels like it, at his own discretion. So now, not only do we have 3 minutes or less to speak, now, Judge O'Hare, you can cut off anyone willy-nilly, at your own discretion, right? So, if someone says something that you do not like, you have the power to silence anyone. Does that remind anybody of a certain type of leadership style? Anyone from the court want to help me with that? Okay. Gotcha. So, all that to say, if you are not able to sit there for 3 measly minutes, which is all we have right now to speak to you, you should resign. And open up the seat to somebody who is willing to sit there and listen to their constituents. Because please remember that it is your constituents who voted you into the seats that you are in right now, and it is your constituents that can vote you out. So please stop wasting time trying to silence them. Thank you.
If you do it again, you'll be removed.
In addition to my comments on decorum, I ask that you return the benches to the hallway outside the courtroom. They provide important assistance to speakers called from the overflow room and waiting for their time at the podium, as well as a place to sit for various reasons for people who have taken time from their day to visit the court.
Thank you. Get him out. He's removed. All right, Bishop Kirkland, if you'll give it.
Miss Beals, you're absolutely right. I signed up.
Bishop Kirkland, will you give it just a minute here?
get a camera out of the way?
Ms. Beals, you're absolutely right. I signed up late Friday night, early Saturday morning, and you spoke before I did. The background of this policy says the intent of this policy is to ensure maximum citizen participation. Please, sirs and ma'am, do not piss on my leg and tell me it's raining.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes 3-2. Next week, following Mr. Grisham, we have Charles Hermes.
Were you arrested?
No, him, right there. Yeah.
All right. So I came here last time because my good friend Mason Yancey was murdered in the jail. All right. That's why I meant to come here. But you didn't hear from me. The reason you didn't hear from me is because the thugs you have outside the door there assaulted me, threw me in handcuffs for no reason whatsoever, and tried to arrest me. Thankfully, Sheriff Wayborn thought the better of valor and listened to me when I told him to read the fucking law. Now,
remove him immediately for that comment. Get him out of here.
Excuse me, that's protected speech.
Yeah, it's not going to be protected in this courtroom.
If it's protected speech.
Ridiculous. This is the problem right here. Let me get my stuff. What the hell's wrong with you people? You're in my way. Let me get my stuff. And Chief Driscoll here needs to be fired.
Mr. Cradaville, is it indeed protected speech?
Yes, it is. I've got the case law right here.
Mr. Cradaville.
Commissioner, I would say that would be appropriate for me to give legal advice and close on that.
I'm sorry.
I
think it's protected speech.
Well, I believe our policy says you don't allow it.
What
The one
policy?
we just passed and the one before it. So, all right, Mr. Hermes is not present.
What did you just say? What? In response to my question, I couldn't hear you.
It's a more nuanced question than simply me making a ball or strike call at this moment. I would say that so long as the action is in compliance with the court's policy, that's what we should defer to at the moment.
So the court's policy supersedes freedom of speech,
No.
Constitution? Okay. But you'll look into it.
I can give you an answer to that question. Yes, it's dependent on the facts of what's occurred. Yes. This constitutes legal advice, and I would just advise the court to allow us to talk about it in executive session if there's a question.
Somebody could probably Google it and see if it's...
The policy that's sitting here before us that we are following does not allow profane language. So I'm enforcing the policy that is in existence at the moment.
That's fine. That's fucking fine. But I need to know if it
You're
is
simply the most
protected
classless
speech.
person we've ever had sitting on this dais.
Okay. Well, say that again, ma'am.
Johnson versus Campbell is a case law that says we can swear.
Thank you.
Johnson versus Campbell.
We will maintain order. There will be nothing called out again from the audience. We'll just close the room down, let the rest of the speakers come up. So,
My name's Carolina, and I have a small freedom of speech YouTube channel. Kind of small. It's got 100,000 subscribers. The second one with 20,000. Facebook with another 20,000 subscribers. I mean, people know my name. If I walk outside, They don't know yours, Mr. O'Hare, but I forgot. I'm in front of royalty, so I forgot to bow. I got to apologize for some of the clothes I've worn in the past. I've worn T-shirts and overalls, but 'cause I kept forgetting I was in front of royalty here. So I just also want to say that arresting somebody, like you did last week, or your hoodlums did back there, for retaliation, for exercising free speech rights is sufficient to kill free speech and is an understatement. That comes from case law that some people around here don't know, called Beckley versus the City of Upland, arguing if even loudly with profane language will not end of itself constitute disorderly conduct. That's Payne versus Polly. So swear words alone don't mean that it's disorderly. Swear words do not provide probable cause for an arrest for disorderly conduct because the words as a matter of law are not fighting words. And that's Johnson versus Campbell. So your rules of decorum policy cannot trump the laws of the United States of America. So your rules of decorum are setting your county up for liability. We have the right to say fuck, shit, damn,
Remove her
bitch.
immediately.
We have the right to say all these words because it's a First Amendment right and you can't do anything about it. In the Stillman case, right? Fuck you!
All right, Mr. Blackwell, you're up. Following Mr. Blackwell is Daniel Freeman.
So what I witnessed today is just more of what I witnessed last time, which is specifically you, Judge O'Hare. You're not acting like a judge, you're acting like a tyrant. These rules, these new decorum rules, they violate the First Amendment very clearly. And that one was stating multiple case law on why that's a violation of the law. And what did you do? You had her taken out and falsely arrested. Now she's back there. Who knows what they're doing to her? And if she ends up in that jail where 70 people have died since Bill Wayburn took office, you know, what's going to happen to her? I don't know her medical conditions and if she needs medication, if they're going to deny that to her. And what are you guys going to do about this? Are you going to do anything? You never answer. You never even make expressions. Like the only time I see you really talk to people or anything is when you tell them not to do something and then you have them removed. That's all I see you do. So when are you going to take this seriously? When are you going to take these deaths in custody seriously? And when are you going to take your duties and responsibility to uphold the Constitution seriously, and your duty as a public official to protect the people who you serve, like all of the 70 people who have died in those jails? There's a problem when 3.5 times more people have died in the Tarrant County Jail than the national average. There's a very clear problem, and it's not being addressed at all. The only person up there that I see addressing it and taking it seriously is Commissioner Simmons, and I thank you for that, and I am glad that you represent me. But I do not see anybody else who ever says anything positive about trying to change things. And so I just don't understand how you could be so heartless. I don't understand how you could think that throwing people out, one person twice, you've had him thrown out and arrested for nothing, clearly violating the First Amendment and many others. And so I have 4 constitutions for you guys, but you especially need to read this, Mr. O'Hare.
Thank you.
Because I don't think you've ever read it.
Your time is up.